Galactic's spacecraft touched down on the outskirts of Neon Abyss, a sprawling city cloaked in shadows cast by towering skyscrapers. The air was thick with the scent of ionized fuel and the distant hum of neon signs. Stepping onto the gritty pavement, she adjusted the collar of her dark coat, blending into the bustling crowd. The city was a maze of contradictions. Luxurious hovercars zipped above while street vendors hawked their wares below, black market tech, exotic spices, and promises of fleeting pleasures. Galactic's eyes, however, were fixed on a different prize. She needed information, and for that, she had to head to the seedy underbelly of the city. Her first stop was the Last Stop Bar, a known hangout for low-level operatives in Vor's network. The place was dimly lit, with a haze of smoke lingering under flickering lights. She settled at the bar, ordering a local brew. The bartender, a cyborg with one mechanical eye, nodded at her with a grunt. "New in town?" he asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "Just passing through," Galactic replied, scanning the room. Her gaze settled on a man at the far corner, his features shadowed under a hood. "Watch yourself. Neon Abyss isn't kind to strangers," the bartender warned, sliding her the drink. "Thanks for the advice," she said, tossing a few credits onto the counter before making her way towards the hooded figure. As she approached, the man looked up, his eyes narrowing. "I don't know you." "Why the interest?" he asked, his tone guarded. Galactic took a seat opposite him, her voice low. "I'm looking for information on Jurassic Vor," she said, watching his reaction closely. The man chuckled darkly. "Vor? You must either be very brave or very foolish." "Maybe a bit of both," she admitted. "But I have credits, and I'm willing to pay." He eyed her for a moment before nodding slowly. "All right, I'll talk. But not here. Follow me." They left the bar, winding through narrow alleys lined with dripping pipes and flickering lights. The man led her to a decrepit building, up a rickety elevator, and into a cramped apartment. Once inside, he locked the door and turned to face her. "Vor controls most of the trade that comes through here. Drugs, weapons, you name it," he began, pacing the room. "He's got the local law enforcement in his pocket, and his rivals are too scared to move against him." Galactic listened intently, memorizing every detail. "What about his weaknesses? Any chinks in his armor?" The informant smirked. "Vor is paranoid. He trusts no one, not even his closest lieutenants. There's a lot of discontent in his ranks, ripe for exploitation." "That's good to know," Galactic said, her mind racing with strategies. "Anything else?" "Just be careful," he warned. "Vor has eyes and ears everywhere. Trust no one." "Thanks for the heads up," Galactic replied, standing to leave. She handed him a stack of credits, which he accepted with a greedy glint in his eye. As she stepped out into the night, the air felt charged, the city's energy pulsing around her. She knew she was walking a dangerous path, one that could lead to her undoing or to the vengeance she so desperately sought. Returning to the streets, Galactic blended into the crowd once more, her mind buzzing with the information she had obtained. She needed to be cautious, to plan each move with precision. But first, she needed allies, people she could trust, or at least, trust enough for her purposes. Her next stop was the Neon Market, a sprawling bazaar known for its information brokers and hackers. She found her contact, a young hacker named Tycho, in a back alley, surrounded by old tech and glowing screens. "You're Knox, right?" Tycho asked, his gaze cautious but curious. "Heard you might be coming. What do you need?" "Access to Vor's communications," Galactic stated plainly. "Can you do it?" Tycho weighed her request, then nodded. "It's risky, but yeah, I can get you in. It'll cost you, though." "Price isn't an issue," Galactic assured him. "Just make sure it's done quickly and quietly." "Got it," Tycho replied, turning to his equipment. "Give me a few hours." As Galactic left the market, the sky above Neon Abyss was a tapestry of stars and satellites. Her heart was heavy with the weight of what was to come, but there was no turning back now. She had a mission, one that went beyond personal revenge. She would bring justice to Neon Abyss, whatever the cost. The city might devour the unwary, but Alara Nox was no ordinary prey. She was the hunter, and she had just begun her game. In the pulsing heart of Neon Abyss, beneath the glimmer of holographic ads and the shadows of monolithic skyscrapers, Alara Nox met with her newest ally, Tycho, in an abandoned warehouse that had once served as a shipping hub for illicit goods. The air was cool and smelled faintly of ozone and metal. Her footsteps echoed as she approached the young hacker, who was set up amidst the chaos of wires and screens. "Got something for you," Tycho announced without looking up, his fingers flying over a holographic keyboard. He flicked his wrist, and a screen floated towards Alara, displaying intercepted communications from Vor's network. "This is your golden ticket into the Viper's nest." Alara studied the screen intently. The communications were a mix of code and cautious language, detailing shipments, meetings, and, occasionally, hints of dissent among the ranks. "Excellent work," she praised, her voice a low murmur. "Any particular threads I should pull?" "There's a shipment coming in 2 days," Tycho replied, pointing to a blip on the screen. "High risk, high value. It's your best chance to get closer to Vor." "Understood. And your payment?" Alara inquired, keeping business strictly professional. "Already transferred to my account." "Thanks," Tycho said with a slight grin, signaling the nonchalant bravery, or recklessness, of youth. He then added, seriously, "Be careful, Nox. Vor's not just paranoid, he's dangerous." With a nod, Alara left the warehouse, her mind racing with plans. She spent the next hours in the grimier parts of the city, gathering necessary gear and crafting her cover story. She would pose as a dealer interested in Vor's rarest merchandise, using the upcoming shipment as her in. Dressed in the nondescript garb of the local traders and equipped with forged credentials, Alara positioned herself at the docks of Neon Abyss the following night. The area was poorly lit, save for the occasional flicker of a security light, casting long shadows over the metal containers and crates that lined the waterfront. As the time approached, she watched a sleek, dark ship glide silently into port. Figures cloaked in the anonymity of the night began unloading crates with practiced efficiency. Alara approached, her demeanor calm and authoritative. "I'm here for the shipment," she stated to the apparent leader of the group, a burly man with cybernetic arm enhancements. "Code, Gamma 3. The man eyed her suspiciously but nodded after a moment. "Follow me." He led her into the bowels of the ship, where rows of crates were secured. Stopping before one marked with a subtle symbol, he gestured. "This is it. You got the creds?" Alara produced a data chip, and the man scanned it with a handheld device. Satisfied, he began processing the transfer when suddenly, alarms blared, slicing through the silence of the night. "Inspection." "Hide," the man hissed, pushing her towards a concealed compartment beneath the floor. Heart racing, Alara slipped into the hideaway just as footsteps and shouts echoed around the ship. Peering through a crack, she watched as security forces stormed the area, led by a woman with a distinctive scar running down her left cheek, a high-ranking enforcer known for her ruthlessness. As the enforcer barked orders, her gaze swept over the ship, missing Alara's hiding spot by mere inches. After what felt like an eternity, the enforcer called off the search, unsatisfied but vowing to keep a close eye on the operations. Once the coast was clear, Alara emerged from her hiding place. The ship's crew was visibly shaken, but the leader managed a nod of respect towards her. "Quick thinking," he muttered. "You're not just some petty trader, are you?" "Let's just say I have many interests," Alara replied enigmatically, securing her crate. With the shipment in hand, she made her way back to her safe house, the weight of the night's events heavy on her shoulders. She had narrowly escaped detection, but her infiltration was far from over. Opening the crate, she discovered not only the illegal tech she had pretended to trade for but also encrypted data pads likely containing valuable information about Vor's operations. Deciding to push her advantage, Alara contacted Tycho. "I need another favor," she said once they were securely connected. "Can you crack these?" Send them over, Tycho responded, his tone eager. The next morning, as the first rays of dawn crept over the horizon, casting a pale light on the city's highest towers, Elara met Tycho at a cafe cloaked in the anonymity of bustling morning traffic. Handing over the data pads, she watched as Tycho set up his portable decrypting device. Moments later, his eyes widened. "This is big," he whispered, showing her the screen. It detailed not just the logistics of Vor's operations but also hinted at a coup being plotted by his lieutenants. Elara leaned back, her mind racing. This was more than she had hoped for. It was a fissure in Vor's armor, a potential ally within his ranks, or a wedge she could drive to turn his forces against him. With a new plan forming, Elara stood, leaving the cafe with a determined stride. The web of the underworld was intricate and dangerous, but she was now weaving her own threads into its design. Her path was fraught with peril, yet each step took her closer to her ultimate target, Drazik Vor himself. In the shadowy corners of Neon Abyss, the revelation of a potential coup within Drazik Vor's ranks put Elara Nox on a new trajectory. Her steps echoed in the underbelly of the city as she navigated through damp, narrow alleys, her destination a safe house known only to a select few. It was here she would meet with Lyra, a lieutenant in Vor's organization whose loyalty to him was rumored to be wavering. The safe house was a nondescript building tucked away behind a neon-lit noodle shop. Inside, the air was stale, thick with the scent of old smoke and secrets. Elara tapped a rhythmic code on the steel door, a signal agreed upon earlier. Moments later, it swung open, revealing Lyra, a tall woman with striking features hardened by years of underworld dealings. "Nox," Lyra greeted, her voice cool and measured. "You're playing a dangerous game." "So are you," Elara replied as she stepped inside, her eyes scanning the dimly lit room. Lyra closed the door, locking it with a series of bolts. "I heard about the shipment bust. Vor's not pleased. He suspects a rat." Elara's gaze didn't waver. "Maybe he should," she hinted, wanting to test Lyra's reaction. Lyra paused, then laughed softly. "Straight to the point. I like that. Yes, there's discontent among us. Vor's paranoia has turned him against his own people. We're tired of looking over our shoulders." "Then help me," Elara said directly, laying out her cards. "Help me bring him down, and you get a clean slate. No more looking over your shoulder." Lyra considered this, her expression unreadable. After a long silence, she finally nodded. "I have access to his private quarters. There's a safe where he keeps all his records, communications, transactions, everything." Elara listened intently, aware of the gravity of what Lyra was proposing. "When can we get in?" "Tonight. He's hosting a gathering for the city's elite." "The distraction we need," Lyra explained, pulling up a detailed layout of Vor's stronghold on her tablet. The plan was risky, fraught with peril, but it was the break Elara had been waiting for. They spent the next few hours going over every detail, every contingency, until the layout of Vor's stronghold was etched into Elara's memory. As night fell over Neon Abyss, the city came alive with its usual cacophony of sounds and lights. Elara and Lyra, disguised in haiku tour to blend in with the event's attendees, made their way to Vor's fortress, a towering structure that loomed ominously over the city. Inside, the event was in full swing, with the city's most corrupt and powerful mingling over exotic drinks and live music. Elara's heart pounded as she navigated through the crowd, every sense alert. Lyra led the way to a secluded corridor, guarded by a lone security officer. "I'll handle this," Lyra whispered, stepping forward. Moments later, the guard was down, a swift, silent takedown. They hurried down the corridor, arriving at a heavy steel door. Lyra produced a key card, swiping it with trembling hands. The door clicked open, revealing Vor's private sanctuary. The room was a stark contrast to the opulence outside. Sparse, functional, with a large desk cluttered with holoscreens and data pads. Lyra went straight to a painting on the far wall, swinging it aside to reveal a high-tech safe. "Biometric locked. We need his retina scan," Lyra said, her voice low. Elara nodded, pulling out a compact device. I came prepared. She had anticipated this need and had procured a counterfeit retinal duplicator for such a scenario. Placing the device against the scanner, they held their breath. After a tense moment, the safe beeped affirmatively, and the door swung open. Inside were stacks of data pads, each labeled with dates and cryptic codes. Elara quickly gathered them, stuffing them into her sleek bag. Let's move, she urged, aware that every second increased their risk of discovery. As they retraced their steps, the sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway. Vor's voice, unmistakable and chilling, drifted towards them. Panic surged, but Lyra grabbed Elara's arm, pulling her into a shadowed alcove just as Vor and his entourage passed by. Their escape from the building was a blur of adrenaline. Once outside, they split up as planned, melting into the night's shadows, their paths diverging to cover their tracks. Back at her safe house, Elara powered up the stolen data pads. The information was a goldmine. Transactions linking Vor to off-world syndicates, communications that laid bare the extent of his control over the city's underworld, and, most damning, evidence of planned assassinations of his rivals. As dawn broke, Elara knew the next steps would be even more dangerous. She had the evidence to take Vor down, but she needed to act quickly before he discovered the breach. Her next move would need to be calculated with precision, the culmination of all her efforts looming on the horizon. Elara steeled herself, her resolve hardening. It's time, she murmured to the silent room, ready to end the game that she had started. Vor's reign of terror would soon be over, but not without a final, explosive confrontation. Elara Nox stood on the rooftop of a high-rise overlooking the darkened cityscape of Neon Abyss, the data pads secured in her coat. The night air was brisk, charged with the electricity of impending confrontation. With the evidence in hand, her final move against Jurassic Vor was imminent. Her communicator buzzed, a secure line from Lyra. It's set. Vor's at his compound, and most of his guards are with him. He's paranoid, more than usual. Now's the time. Understood, Elara replied, her voice a calm veneer over her pounding heart. Keep your head down. It ends tonight. She descended the building, her steps silent against the cold, damp pavement. Her destination was Vor's compound, a fortress that had withstood sieges but had never faced an adversary like her. Dressed in black tactical gear, she blended into the night, a shadow among shadows. Approaching the compound, Elara circumvented the main gate, where guards were visibly tightened. Using a grappling hook, she ascended to a less guarded terrace, taking down a lone guard with a swift, silent chokehold. Her infiltration was seamless, a testament to her years of training. Inside, she navigated through dimly lit corridors, her every sense alert. The compound was quieter than expected, the stillness unsettling. She found the door to Vor's private office, reinforced and guarded by two of his elite. Elara set a small charge, a distraction at the far end of the hallway. As the guards moved to investigate, she slipped through the door, locking it behind her. The room was opulent, a stark contrast to the brutalist exterior, rich tapestries, ancient artifacts, and a large desk that held multiple screens showing various parts of the compound. Vor was there, standing by a window overlooking the city, seemingly lost in thought. He turned as the door sealed, his eyes narrowing when he saw Elara. "Nox," he said, his voice eerily calm. "I wondered when you'd come." "I'm here to end this, Vor," Elara stated, her hand steady on her weapon. "You think you've won?" Vor chuckled, a sound devoid of humor. "You're alone, Nox. You've always been alone. Not anymore." Elara's voice was resolute. She activated her communicator, broadcasting the evidence from the data pads directly to the city's law enforcement and media outlets. Within moments, Vor's crimes were exposed to the world. Vor's expression darkened as he realized the extent of her betrayal. "You'll pay for this," he hissed, drawing a concealed weapon. The room erupted into chaos. Shots rang out, a deadly dance of evasion and attack. Elara ducked behind the desk, returning fire. Glass shattered, and alarms blared, the compound now awake to the intrusion. Their battle was fierce, a culmination of years of hatred and pain. Alara managed to wound Vor, but not fatally. She approached him cautiously, weapon trained on his figure slumped against the wall. "It's over, Vor," she said, her breathing heavy. "Killing me won't bring them back," Vor spat, blood trailing from his lips. Alara paused, her weapon's barrel steady. "No, it won't. But it will stop you from destroying any more lives." She made her decision in that moment, not out of vengeance, but justice. Law enforcement stormed the room, securing Vor before he could attempt another attack. Alara stepped back, her part done, her family's memory honored. As she was escorted out, the first light of dawn began to crest the horizon, washing over Neon Abyss with a promise of renewal. The city, now buzzing with the news of Vor's arrest and the exposure of his network, felt palpably different. Change was imminent, a cleansing fire sparked by her actions. Back on the streets she once walked with dread, Alara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The journey had been grueling, fraught with danger and moral quandaries, but she had navigated it with a relentless pursuit of justice. As she walked away from the compound, her communicator buzzed again. It was Lyra, her voice light, relieved. "You did it, Alara. It's all over the news. Vor's empire is crumbling." Alara allowed herself a small smile. "Thanks to you, too, Lyra. You took a risk. It paid off." "Maybe now, Neon Abyss can find some peace," Lyra responded, hopeful. "Maybe," Alara agreed. She ended the call, her gaze lifting to the awakening city. She didn't know what the future held, or where her path would lead next, but she felt a profound sense of closure. The city might never be free of corruption, but today, it had taken a significant step forward. As Alara disappeared into the maze of streets, her silhouette merged with the citizens of Neon Abyss, just another face in the crowd, but one who had shifted the course of the city forever. Her mission was complete, but her journey, her fight for justice, would always continue.